From Aberdeen to Edinburgh, the message from these protesters is clear. Donald Trump is not welcome in Scotland. Holding up banners and signs levelling criticism at the US president, they say the UK is pandering to Trump, whose arrival has sparked the biggest security operation for the UK since Queen Elizabeth's death in 2022.
I'm very much against everything that Trump stands for and what he's doing in America. So I want people to know, the Americans know that we are very much pro them, their democracy.
You sometimes wonder if, protest works and people listen to it, but that's the only tool that we have for democracy and to show our dislike of Donald Trump, basically, and what he stands for.
The US president is in Scotland as he prepares for the August opening of a golf course bearing his name. He's spending Saturday playing golf with his entourage, brushing off criticisms that he's blurring the lines of politics and business. But the trip is not all leisure, with high stakes for Europe and the UK. Trump is set to talk trade with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen, both of whom are looking to avert a costly trade war.
I'll be meeting with the EU on Sunday, and we'll be working on a deal. We'll see if we make a deal. Ursula will be here, highly respected woman. That would be actually the biggest deal of them all if we make it.
Trump says sticking points still remain with Brussels on the prospects of an EU trade deal. Meanwhile, Downing Street says it hopes to refine the deal struck with Washington in May.
Well, next month will mark 2 years since Hamas militants stormed into Israel, killing soldiers and civilians alike, capturing dozens as collateral. 48 hostages are believed to be held in the Gaza Strip. NHK World spoke with a father clinging to hope that a ceasefire could reunite him with his son.
In the streets of Jerusalem, the calls for peace are almost as relentless as the bombs raining on Gaza. Weekly demonstrations, anger and anguish over the prolonged conflict channeled into demands for the Israeli government and Hamas to put a stop to the suffering. Among them is a man who understands the stakes well. Yehuda Cohen, whose youngest son Nimrod was captured during the October 7th attack.
He likes chips in the countries, music, video games, Rubik's Cube. Normal boy. He went to serve in the army. He actually followed his older brother and went to the Amarat crop. A meaningful service in the army. And he had the unfortunate occasion to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Nimrod was 19, serving as part of a tank crew. His comrades were killed, but he was taken alive. Cohen says Nimrod's status as an Israeli soldier makes him a valuable captive, but he still fears for his safety as the war rages on and famine grips parts of Gaza.
I hope my son is surviving there, and on the other hand, since we know potentially condition there can be very bad, that's why we are fighting.
Fighting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government to pursue peace. 2 truces have led to more than 100 hostages being freed. But those kinds of deals now seem elusive, with talks stalled and Israeli forces mounting a renewed offensive. Moreover, the conflict's borders expanded just last week, with Israel striking Hamas leaders in Qatar. Some hostage relatives, including Cohen, believe Netanyahu is acting out of political survival.
Well, in the beginning, everybody knew there needs to be some fighting done. Of course, the invasion through the north of Gaza and then Khan Yunis. But a long time, everybody understood that Netanyahu is stalling. Netanyahu is using the hostage situation to survive as a prime minister. Netanyahu was using the hostage situation and the fighting to push off any criticism on him.
Yet criticism mounts, and not just from hostage families. Thousands protested near Netanyahu's residence, demanding Israel change its tactics before it's too late.
We want to achieve a deal. The deal is stopping the war, making peace, getting the hostages as soon as possible, stop the killing, stop the famine in Gaza.
An Israeli think tank poll recently found over 60% of respondents support a ceasefire agreement with Hamas to secure the release of hostages. Cohen compares Israel to a person battling an illness. The sickness is in the brain. A government ignoring the wishes of its people. He says public pressure is the cure.
What I say to all over the world, help us end the war. We need public opinion. Here in Israel, all around the world, we need to push from the bottom to the governments, to get the government to push for ending the war and getting a hostage deal.
Cohen says Nimrod is 21 now. His whole life is ahead of him, but only if he's given the freedom to live it.
An Israeli drone strike in southern Lebanon killed at least 5 people, including 3 children, the country's health ministry said. The attack also injured at least 2 others, including the mother in the family that was targeted. Israel says it was targeting a Hezbollah militant operating in a civilian population. It announced it would launch a probe into the incident. Israel has frequently targeted Hezbollah militants or infrastructure in Lebanon's south. The militant group claims it has not fired back across the border since a ceasefire between the 2 warring sides was reached in November last year.
To Gaza now, where health officials say more than a dozen people have been killed on Saturday as Israel presses ahead with its latest offensive in Gaza City. International pressure has been mounting on Israel over its military operation, with Portugal becoming the latest country to announce it will recognize Palestinian statehood. The United Nations is due to convene a special session on a 2-state solution on the sidelines of next week's General Assembly. Secretary-General Antonio Guterres says the gathering is a chance to mobilize the international community.
Many Gazans have been forced to flee the city. They now face squalid conditions in overcrowded areas, gripped by hunger and even famine.
We are extremely burned out and tired of displacement. 4 whole days on the road. We went all over Gaza and the places must be rented out. We don't have money to rent or money to eat. We go to a new place every day. We came from West and have been stopping along the way. Hunger is killing us. We have nothing. We are barefoot. Just the water jugs and the bag. This is it.
Far from the Gaza Strip, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres says he hopes that recognition of Palestinian statehood will be a step towards peace.
The carnage that is happening in Gaza has to end, that we need a ceasefire immediately, with the release of all hostages immediately too, and with effective humanitarian aid in Gaza that is suffering the highest level of death and destruction that I've seen since I'm Secretary General.
While international diplomacy grinds on at a slow pace, the people trapped in Gaza continue to endure a brutal struggle for survival.
For more on the situation in Gaza, I'm now joined by Amjad Shawa. He is the head of the Palestinian NGO network, and he joins us from Deir al-Balah in the Gaza Strip, just south of Gaza City. Now, can you describe the situation right now in Gaza City for us?
Thank you. It's inhuman conditions, very critically deteriorated. It's under attack from the Israelis, the Israeli airstrikes using also the remote explosive robots to explode neighborhoods. And still there is about 800,000 people who are still stuck in Gaza City, where total neighborhoods were leveled and destroyed, and so many families under the rubble after the airstrikes on their buildings. And people still continue to flee, scared from such attacks, to unsafe and inhumanitarian conditions in the south of Gaza Strip. There is no shelter materials, and there is no water. There is no also supplies in order to cover all these needs. People are in very limited distance in areas in the south of the area. There is no space to put a tent. There is no also supplies to give these people who are left with nothing. Still now there is restrictions on the entry of the basic needs, mainly the tents and other needs. And in the same time, there is shortage of water, whether in the Gaza City or in the south. All are suffering under such starvation and famine that people are suffering from.
Now, Israel's army has warned that it will use unprecedented force to take Gaza City. How does that materialize?
Already they are using it, and I don't know how to be interpreted to the situation in Gaza. Still, people are in very critical moments that we are passing through. Non-stop airstrikes. We are talking about now almost 23 months of the Israeli attacks on the Palestinian civilians, these desperate Palestinians who has nowhere to go and no capacity and no income. It's in need for about $3,000 to $5,000 in order to move from the Gaza City to the south. And already there is tens of thousands of families. They have elders, people with disability, orphans, widows who cannot move, and they haven't anything in order to move towards. And already there is hundreds of patients, injured people who are in these hospitals still working there in very critical conditions that we cannot move them out because we have small hospitals here, which is overwhelmed and crowded in Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis. So we are calling now in order real pressure to stop this offensive, this military operation that run in Gaza to protect the Palestinian civilians. This is the real time for the international community to act. Otherwise, children, women, these elders will be killed. As every day we have tens of people who are killed.
Amjad Chawa, the head of the Palestinian NGO network in Gaza. Thank you very much.
Jacob Granzea is the emergency coordinator with Doctors Without Borders in Gaza and joins me now from Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Hello, thanks for joining us. Can you describe the situation right now in Gaza City for you, your colleagues, and the patients still there?
Good morning. So the situation in Gaza City today is the same for everyone staying over there. There's an advanced military operation going on the city with the situation being very bad over there, meaning that access to food, access to healthcare, access to water is compromised. It was already dire before. Now the population of Gaza City has no choice between staying in Gaza City, where they have a shelter, or going south of Gaza City following this evacuation order, cancelled order by Israeli forces, and to have no place and no certitude that they will be able to be in good living conditions in the south of Gaza Strip. So to be really descriptive, it's a huge city that is totally or partially destroyed. You can see buildings with holes in it. You can see buildings just flattened down to the ground. You will have sound of quadcopters, the sound of the bombings, of the strikes everywhere, and no certitude that you are not being one of the victims, collateral damage or not, of the strike. So what we see regarding healthcare is that there are less and less facilities open. Most are closing because of the security issues. There's less and less humanitarian actors because they have to flee because of security issues. And we have more and more complex cases coming to health facilities.
Right, sounds like a very dire situation you're describing there. Now, the IDF says that only hospitals are protected sites in northern Gaza for aid workers like you. Do you feel protected?
Absolutely not. So what the Israeli forces declared is that only the hospitals would be deconflicted. Now, if we take the 5 last days, there have been strikes on or really nearby health facilities, including hospitals. That would be Shifa Hospital, the biggest one. That would be Ramtesi Hospital, a pediatric hospital with 80 beds. The top floor has been disrupted several times and targeted by Israeli forces drones. And there's countless examples. On MSF premises, within this last week, we had several strikes less than 100 meters away from our clinics. One was 40 meters away from the clinic, another one was 80 meters away from the clinic, and finally also the water distribution that we are doing. We had clearly identified Doctors Without Borders trucks delivering water in the north part of Gaza City that has been struck by Israeli forces, and we lost all the water. It was clearly identified. So no, there's no protection for humanitarian workers and for health workers in the Gaza Strip. And this is something we need. We need to deliver to the population, and we need to have a guarantee from Israeli forces to be able to continue to operate over there.
Right, got it. Jacob Granzier, Emergency Coordinator with Doctors Without Borders in Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
China is making a national effort to develop humanoid robots. Data from one of the country's research institutes suggests Chinese firms in the field have grown to 50% of the world's, topping the 20% of the United States. NHK World's Nakamura Genta has the story.
Recently in Beijing, the local government and other entities held a special sports tournament with humanoid robots. More than 500 robots battled it out, with teams coming from 16 countries, including Japan. A human remotely controls these kickboxers, but the robots are maintaining their balance by themselves, and sometimes losing it. That's the spirit. In terms of technology, soccer attracted the most attention. They may be clumsy, but all the players are fully autonomous and equipped with AI. They are using facial sensors to recognize the position of the ball and their teammates. They change formations to suit the situation, and each robot is able to determine its own role. Now they can even perform difficult grip actions. Okay, maybe not quite there yet. Still, the robot's ability to make their own judgments impressed many spectators.
I'm so proud. It was just like at a world championship.
Over the past 2 years, the development of humanoid robots in China has really accelerated. I believe they have the potential to lead the world in the future.
Part of China's push for humanoid robots is to address the country's falling birth rate and aging population. In a future with fewer human workers, many fields may be staffed by robots. Back at the competition, this robot is working in a pharmacy. It can scan a prescription, find the right medicine among hundreds of others, and bring it over without damaging the box. But they still aren't as coordinated as humans. This one is supposed to be staffed at a hotel. Hope nothing fragile was inside. The competition had a few technical challenges, but the organizers say they're confident about the future.
And the robotics become a vital bridge connecting technological explosion, talent development, and industrial integration.
China has committed itself to self-reliance in technological development, and the country appeared set to make further strides developing humanoid robots. Nakamura Genta, NHK World.